All right, good morning, everybody. Come on, good morning back. All right, you guys, you got to wake up now. Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Randy. First of all, thank you for the privilege of being able to chat with you. My hope is that we have a great conversation today about the CIO view of transforming an organization. Confucius said that only the wisest and stupidest men never change. Only the wisest and stupidest men never change. The hard part in an organization is that change is really, 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 really hard. And that most organizations have an inertia that says stay where you're at. To navigate, actually make change happen, takes a rare skill and blend of both focus and skills to make that change happen. We're in privileged company today with 4 folks here that have those skills. We're here to talk about how Deming relates to, no. They ask for easy questions. But let me think for a moment that in the rest of the session today, you're going to hear about tools, techniques, how to do the agile thing. However, the agile thing exists within the context of a system of an organization. And to affect systemic change in an organization, those things have to happen. Systemic change needs to be in the organization. Systemic change means that you have a great foundation that's built by things outside the room. My name, once again, is Ben Blanquera, and I work for an incredible company called Progressive Medical. Our story is that in the last year and a half, we have stood up 6 teams. And it's making a great difference in our organization, and it's changing the culture, or it's supporting the culture, but it's changing the way how we do things in a very positive way. The framework for the discussion we have today is, in a moment, I'm going to ask these fine gentlemen to introduce themselves. And there's a series of questions that I'm going to ask them. Focus on metrics, business case, focus on culture, focus on first steps, and focus on sustainability and talent. We'll do that for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes of Q&A at the end. I invite all you guys, when I ask you a question, to answer it, but then you other guys just jump in. This is about being a little bit discussion-oriented and controversial. We'll try to stay about 5 minutes in each of the topical areas so we can go through the agenda. So with that, I'm going to ask our speakers to just introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Rob?
Good morning. I'm Rob Richardson, CIO at Worthington Industries.
I'm Rich Deers, CTO of Northwoods Consulting Partners.
Hi, my name is Jeff Dennis. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Huntington National Bank. I'm glad to be here.
Good morning, I'm Tim Lyons. I'm Vice President Nationwide, and I run the Application Development Center there.
All right, with that, let's get to it. Tim, what's the business case for Agile? Why does it make sense to invest in this change?
Our business case, kind of some background, we formed the Application Development Center about 2 years ago, and I interviewed for the position, and when I got the position, they go, well, you don't have any budget. We want you to consolidate 26 different teams and develop a centralized application development facility to attack large development efforts at Nationwide. We have about a $350 million a year build budget for application development, and it was very federalized. And our charge was to kind of bring this all together and find new techniques and new approaches to drive efficiencies. We formed our business case around quality, and we put together a business case that, using some of the agile techniques and lean philosophies, that we were seeing teams come up with almost unprecedented quality metrics. And what I did is had a target, use that word, of achieving 50% quality improvements through our Agile teams. And that funded the startup, but we exceeded those targets. We actually reached 85% quality improvements relative to the rest of the enterprise development cycle. So our business case was funded on solid productivity and quality takeout through these techniques and approaches.
That's great. So in addition to the quality metrics, what are some of the other metrics that you monitor?
Metrics kind of permeate everything. At the line level, we have a big visible chart system, and our teams are looking at their own velocity on story points. We look at the manual test coverage, the automated test coverage. We look at defects on the line within each of the testing stages. At the associate level, we look at individual skill metrics. We try to take people from aware to expert, and we have an immersive education and training program built in that we call the teaching hospital. So we measure individual associate skill development, the number of classes that are delivered, and the number of mature or expert practitioners we're creating within our system. At a management level, we have metrics spanning everything from productivity. Michael Moss here today, and we're using the SLIM metrics on what the cost of a line of code has become and how that affects. We measure defects all through the life cycle, roll those up. And we also measure financials normally compared to other delivery vehicles to see where the waste is and try to find ways to improve it. We also have metrics around continuous improvement and measure some of our managers on not only their ability to deliver, but seeing their thought leadership truly manifested through continuous improvement and Kaizen processes.
Did you always have those metrics?
No, ours is a kind of an evolving system. I think it's there's an organizational DNA we were lucky to create through our associates, where they really drive the model. Management is there to kind of empower them to make all of this happen, but it's their practices and it's their system. And of course, upper management needs to see certain things, and we have to roll those up, financials, improve our business case, etc. But the Kaizen process and our agile practices are owned by our teams, and management facilitates pretty much trying to stay out of their way, document it, franchise it, and be sure that we can turn that into a system that we can extend and apply at large scale.
Wonderful. Sounds like Deming would be pleased with the self-directed nature of your teams.
When we explain what the ADC is, I literally use Deming's 14 points and Ono's 7 areas of waste. But I think the third leg of our stool is the CMMI framework. What we've done is found that CMMI literally looks at the total orchestration of the IT department or operating system. And those three components together form kind of our constructs, or the pillars of which our system resides.
So it sounds like a very balanced approach to making sure you have a sort of portfolio approach to looking at how you're doing.
I think it is balanced. What I love about it is we're able to balance standardization and attacking, the variation in processes and techniques, but at the same time drive unprecedented innovation through our associates. So we have one model and one way of doing things, but anybody can change it if they have a better idea. And the associates are changing it constantly.
It's wonderful. The Agile thought processes, the Agile vocabulary, the Agile metrics, in some ways need a translation function to the traditional project management scope, quality, costs. Can you just comment a little bit about what that translation function looks like? So when a senior exec says, tell me again, what is the scope and cost of this thing, given the sort of free-flowing iterative nature of Agile? Help me understand how you're controlling this project.
At the end of the day, everything comes down to hours and dollars from a financial perspective. From our customer's perspective, they're looking for high-quality delivery within the constraints or parameters that they establish. They give us what those constraints are, and we try to operate within it. We let the individual teams, for example, do their T-shirt sizing and story point sizing. But in the background, we can translate those story points to a percent of overall project time and project cost through a normalization. But the line doesn't really see that. They're practicing their techniques and their approaches, and in the background, we can translate it into the financial metrics that are needed. From a standard work approach, where you're having kind of a clash between waterfall practices, traditional practices of project management and iteration management now coming together, that's the harder cultural translation. You're moving from sometimes 200 or 300 page requirements documents and breaking those into features, epics, stories, and tasks. So we've literally changed just about every practice, and we have to bridge or translate to those teams that we're working with as we introduce these concepts. But what we do is we immerse them and train them in these practices, and there's great buy-in to that. So we're looking at the Application Development Center as sort of the tip of the spear to larger IT transformation. While the ADC has a number of associates, about 30 to 40% of the associates come from the line of business, and they're immersed in the environment, all the training and the culture. And then on the build to run transition, they take those practices back with them to their lines of business.
That's a great model. So you bring them in, you immerse them, you train them, you roll them back out, and they become sort of the tentacles of beachheads into the greater IT organization?
Yeah, we've scaled from, I think we started 2 years ago with 15 associates, a lot of contractors and 5 lines. We're now at 26 development lines in Des Moines and Columbus. We've built out 3 total agile floor spaces, 3 floors. In downtown, we've built out a space in Des Moines, but I can't think of a single ADC associate who would ever want to go back to the old way. They're driving this model, they have passion about it, and it's really a ground-up change that they are driving and management is facilitating.
Wonderful. I'm going to transition to Jeff. You had a segue into culture matters. And Jeff, the question to you is, why does culture matter?
Well, culture helps make up the DNA of what your brand is. And what we're doing here at Huntington is changing the entire culture from what at least is viewed by many of our customers and our colleagues as an organization that is trying to survive to an organization that is really going to prosper and grow and create new opportunities for both our customers and our colleagues. And some of the stuff that we're doing in transforming the way we develop software is going to be culture changing to the DNA of the entire organization. People today, because we are in early stages of this, I know that colleagues that I work with and colleagues that are a part of this, it's impacting their daily lives, and many of you have probably lived through this. When you start taking away the cubicles, you start taking away people have lived and worked for many years. And that causes an angst in their gut, and then how they go home and talk to their spouse or their significant other, and it's a game-changing, life-changing experience. And many of you that have been through it, I recognize that after you've been in it for a while, you never want to go back. But being in the middle of it and going through it right now, I see the change that is going on. I see the anxiety that we're creating by creating a different environment for our colleagues to work in. But I've seen the other side of it. And I know that at the end of the day, and at the end of the I wouldn't say the end, but after we get through this journey, you will start to see people work together, teams start to form and want to be together, teamwork start to happen like has never happened before at Huntington. Colleagues that want to come to work, colleagues that are excited about what they're doing is making a difference for the customers that they have. The most exciting thing about, or most motivating thing that anybody could do in a job is to know that what you're working on is actually making a difference for the company that you work for. It's not about pay, it's not about title, it's about what you're doing is important.